To sum up, your mission is hard. But if I were to tell my family or my friends or my former self what a mission was going to do for me or what it ended up doing for me, sometimes we just have to get our feet wet a little bit, show him our faith, and then he'll provide us with the means. Yeah, the MTC was wild. Well, I needed to figure out why I was there, I guess. And that was kind of this question I had going around in my head was, okay, I made it here, but now is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I where I'm supposed to be? And I had this teacher, and he challenged us to come with a question in mind that we were hoping to receive revelation for. That was my question. Am I where I'm supposed to be? Is God mindful of me right now? I just wanted to feel his love, honestly, to confirm that what I was doing is right. And he said, okay, go take a spot in this chapel and pick a scripture that's fitting with you or dear to your heart or something, and pray about it and try and receive an answer. So I decided to open it up and see where it would take me, and it took me to Moroni 7:48. Pray to the Father with all thy energy of heart, that you may be filled with love. I was like, yeah, that's what I need, that's what I want. So I did. So I prayed, and I remember I opened my eyes after I said amen, and the sun started coming in through this window. And I'm in England, right? So the sun hasn't shined in weeks. And I looked back down at my scriptures, and on the side of that page, I hadn't noticed it before, but there's a little note and it said, I love you. In that moment, that was an answer from God. That's what I had been looking for. I remember my first day being just so overwhelmed because, I hadn't slept the night before, and we just dragged all my bags to the area, and my trainer was like, okay, we're gonna go hit the streets, we're gonna go talk to people. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna just say it in English and then you can translate for me then. And she's like, no, we're gonna speak German. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't learn German. So in my first area, that was one of the hardest areas. Surprisingly, it was a big city, but we didn't have a lot of luck talking to people. But I remember I got a new companion, and it was our first day out, and we just went to this random area. And at this point, it was my turn to be in charge because I was taking over our area as a missionary. I was still so new, I had no clue what I was doing. Right off the bat, we found this lady, her name was Miriam. She was so hesitant at first. She was like, why are these two girls approaching me? Can I help you? But then she let us in really quickly. We started meeting with her. She loved the Bible, and we introduced the Book of Mormon to her, and it just made sense. She put two and two together, and she was like, I always felt like this was missing something, I just remember being so blown away because she would invite us to her house. She just lived in kind of a small apartment. She had a couple kids. She didn't have a lot. But the fact that she would always invite us in and give us anything that she had, I was just so moved by her hospitality, her humility, and quickly became one of my best friends. And in the time I was there, she was never baptized. To this day, I don't think she was baptized, but just the relationships you build with people, regardless of who believes what, and you realize that we're all just children of God and we're all here to help each other out. In my second area, I was transferred to Switzerland. You could say I went into it a little bit pessimistic because I felt like it wasn't going to be a successful area. I was in my second transfer in that area and had just got a new companion. And it was the first or second day together we were out and we were traveling to somebody's house, and you have to take trains everywhere. And there was this guy standing by us, and I could not shake the feeling that I needed to talk to him, and I just kept looking at him, and he'd look back, and I would look at him, look back, and it was just, okay, just do it. So I started talking to him, and I come to find out he was this guy who this whole time our ward and past missionaries had thought was this less active member of the church. We came to find out he had never been baptized. So we started teaching him, we taught him the lessons, he loved it. He'd always wanted to be baptized. He just kind of thought since he was coming to church, it just counted. We learned over time that he actually had suffered from lung disease. He had been smoking for tons and tons of years. He had had 4 surgeries on his lungs so far, and he was actually about to face another surgery, which left him with the 50% chance of surviving, 50% chance of dying. And we were just so distraught by this. He knew he wanted to be baptized before he had the surgery. So 3 days before, we were able to organize a baptismal service for him, and he was baptized. And I remember after I asked him, I was like, hey, your surgery's coming up in a couple days, are you nervous? He just looked at me and he said, no. Everything that the missionaries have been sharing with me, everything they've taught me, I know there's no reason to be afraid. I know that it keeps going. I know that there's hope, and that whatever happens is supposed to happen. And I know that now I've been able to be forgiven of my sins. I've been able to have a clean start, and now I'm on the path to following my Savior, Jesus Christ. We all fasted for him, and he was able to come through the surgery, and he's still going today, and he bears his testimony every month, and he's just a rock star. This name tag is funny. In the beginning, honestly, I would forget to put it on. You know, it says my name is all I really thought of it as. And I figured it's probably better that people don't know my name because they don't really like me out here. But pretty soon I realized that, okay, this isn't just my name, it has Jesus Christ's name on it. And we wear it over our heart, and you wear it proudly. And I remember I'd have companions who would be like, man, I just wish we could just, you know, cover this, you know, and then uncover it once, like, we got talking to them. And I was like, no way. If this doesn't just hook somebody, then we're not meant to talk to them. Because Jesus Christ is why we're here. And that's exactly what this has on it. I remember this one day we were out contacting, and we walked past these two guys. And we kind of like walk past, and I kind of do a double take, and I was like, guys, let's go back. And we start talking to them, and they're just sitting on a bench. And we're just talking, and this guy sitting here, he just gets this big grin on his face, and he's just doing this. And I was like, I think he likes what we're saying. I don't know, this is just what I'm getting. And we ended up exchanging numbers, and we like set up a time to meet again. Every time we met, he got a little happier, he got a little brighter, and he expressed to us that he had found this newfound hope. In our mission, we have the chance to serve a lot with refugees. He had come from, 10 different countries before that, walking by foot, by train, by car, and you know, these people, they go through hell. He was able to come and find some amount of refuge in Germany, where I happened to be serving, coming from America. And we met up here in the middle. I just remember thinking we had to meet at this point. We asked him one day if he would want to be baptized, and he was like, can I? Can I be baptized? We were like, yeah, of course. And he was so excited, he could not wipe the grin off his face. To see him come from where he was to where he came to be at this point, it was so cool to see the life changes he was making, how much happiness it actually brought into his life. To know that, you know, people cared about him, but more importantly, to know that God cared about him, that he was there, and that no matter how many hard things he'd been through in his life at this point, God was directing him still. In my last area, I was serving in Stuttgart. So 2 weeks before I got there, the missionary serving there had ran into this girl on the street, and one of the missionaries was a brand new missionary. This was her first transfer. And you know, so she spits out in kind of like struggling German, you know, hey, can we just do a survey with you? We just have a few questions if you have a minute. And this, you know, this like 17-year-old girl, she's got like a hood on and headphones in, and she's like, okay. So the other missionary takes over, you know, they start doing this survey, and she's like, are you guys American? And they're like, yeah. She's like, yeah, we can do this in English. So they start talking, and she finds out that they're Mormons, and she's like, wait, you're from the Mormon church? They're like, yeah. You're missionaries from the Mormon church? Like, yeah, that's what we're doing. You know, that's what our name tags are. She's like, can I tell you a story? You're never gonna believe this. My grandpa, who I never met, he was a Mormon. He lived out in Arizona somewhere. Never knew him, but it made me curious as to what he actually believed. You know, I've always been religious, I've always been faithful. So over this past year, she had been researching the LDS church. The more she learned about it, the more she was like, I love this. I love what it's about. I love the standards. I love the foundations of it. And the night before she met them, she had prayed to God, and she said, listen, if this is your church, if this is what you want me to do, if this is the path I'm supposed to follow, I'll do it, but you need to give me a sign. And the following day, she ran into the missionaries on the street. So I wasn't there for the meeting, but I got there 2 weeks later and was able to meet with her and go through the lessons with her. And she would just soak it up. She just loved it. Like, she ended up, you know, she would teach us. And I was just like, this chick is 17 years old, and she is more prepared than I am to be teaching her. And it seems like something you're so undeserving of, because you're like, man, I guess, I don't know what I did to be able to be a part of her conversion process, but it's in God's plan. I'm just grateful to have been any kind of conduit in this miracle. She ended up being baptized, and it was a really special experience to be a part of. My last day on my mission was hard. I didn't think it would be. I was trying to prepare myself for it. And by the end of it, I was like, I can't do this. I can't just go home, you know. Being a missionary is such a unique experience, and it's something you never want to stop. And most importantly, I just wanted to know that God was pleased with what I had done and that I had given it my all. So on the plane ride home, finishing writing some of my last thoughts, and I wrote, I just want to write about where I am right now, in the clouds, feels and looks like magic. It was dark on the ground, but it's crazy to see the picture change with a little elevation. You never want to stop being a missionary, being a disciple of the Lord 100% of the time. I'm a little worried, to be honest. I hope it all sunk in. I hope I did all I could. I asked President yesterday how to know if the Lord is pleased with you. He looked at me with these tired but loving eyes and said, I feel okay to speak for the Lord today and tell you that He is. He offered me a blessing. He said, the Lord asked us to do all that we can do. You have done everything you could. There's not one more thing necessary. As he spoke, I felt a clear, undeniable sense of peace. This feeling came into my head and in my heart, and it said, I do. I do know that He's pleased. And then my president said, I know you know. And all I could do was smile.